you laughed a little bit at that response there about the Jim Crow, what was it, 2.0, 3.0, what number are we at?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So what was your instant response?
Well, look, I mean, this is a procedural victory. I mean, you got to keep this in perspective here. I mean, this was not on race. It was not on the districting. It was simply on how the left went about getting this thing passed, and they did not do it correctly. And so the Virginia Supreme Court correctly said, you did not go through the following steps, and we can get into that more if we wanted to. But the bottom line is no, this isn't a racial thing. This isn't anything other than the fact that the left, the Democrats, were dumb and they didn't do it the right way.
Exactly. So that was basically what the court said. There was like this supposed to be like a waiting period. I think
or
it was
as
like
they say in
90 days.
comedy, it's a bunch of hacks.
Yeah. Well, I also think there was an issue with the vote. Right? It was like majority vote. There was supposed to be 2/3. There seemed to be all kinds of procedural questions. One of the things I thought, I was a bit surprised at the ruling just because I think I might have talked to you, Foldy, about this, but the fact that the Virginia Supreme Court let the vote happen despite lower courts having ruled against the wording and the procedure.
My understanding is the Virginia Supreme Court always lets these things happen and then they rule on them. I'm not exactly sure, but the decisive vote in this 4-3 ruling was appointed by Virginia's then Democratic Governor Mark Warner, now Senator, and he was unanimously confirmed in the state legislature, including by this mentally ill woman, Louise Lucas, who we'll talk more about later. This was a huge loss for Democrats. And obviously, yesterday on this show, we had the RNC's Kirsten Pels here, and we were talking a little bit about the Democrats' love of gerrymandering around the country. The RNC was massively outspent here, and we talked about this, and a lot of people criticized Republicans for, in essence, ceding this battle. And I was thinking about this. The Republicans were playing sort of a reverse Russian roulette with this. They were saying, let the Democrats spend, as you noted, $40 million from Hakeem Jeffries' organization, millions of dollars elsewhere. Let Governor Abigail Spanberger waste her political capital, bring in Barack Obama onto this case. And the Republicans said, all right, we're not going to spend that much money. They're playing Russian roulette with 5 bullets and 1 empty chamber. And when it came their time to play, they lucked out. This was a huge victory for Republicans. Now Democrats wasted tens of millions of dollars.
That's true.
And money, the Democrats' money is virtually limitless, but it's not completely limitless. And now, as you noted, Temu Obama, Hakeem Jeffries, he is looking like he could not be more unprepared for this job if he tried.
And in the ruling, they mentioned, like, we didn't step in because we had to let the referendum pass before we could get involved. That was the justification, which makes sense. Gabby, I want to go to you real quick. Jay Jones kind of put out a statement saying the court got involved.
He's going to, like, kill
politics,
these people now.
Right? That he's looking and exploring the path forward. One, what do you think the next steps are? And 2, you're a Virginia voter. Were you frustrated? Because there were some people on X that said, all the money that was spent, all the time, why didn't the court get involved earlier?
They should have listened to the Tazewell court and not let the sham referendum proceed. And you talk to anyone who lives in Virginia. I live in Fairfax, and I fully believe in the mantra, don't Fairfax, Virginia. Anyone who's lived in Fairfax has kind of a normal way of thinking. We see what happens in Fairfax County. We don't want that applied all Commonwealth-wide. And a lot of voters, I was even talking to my parents, they said this language, the way that they're phrasing this referendum is
fairness?
It's total obfuscation of what fairness is.
Right, it's Orwellian.
Yeah, and yes, it is leaning more blue these days. Since I've moved here 14 years ago, it's a lot more blue, not so purple. But even you talk to Democrats in Portsmouth, where Louise Lucas is from, a lot of them felt very disenfranchised with the referendum vote. And thankfully, we could see a course correction. I hope we see the Virginia Supreme Court ruling upheld, because Virginia shouldn't be a 10-to-1 map, especially that atrocious lobster seat in, I think, the 7th or 5th. Whatever
of course, it's a huge loss for Democrats, but I think I would say keep 2 things in perspective. This is only 4 seats, and Democrats may still get one of those seats. I think it's Jen Kiggins is the most vulnerable. And if they win 35 seats in the midterms, and there's only a couple seats that separate Republicans from Democrats now in the House, that this is just padding, that they will still likely get the House majority no matter this ruling. And also, Virginia Democrats are likely to do this again.
That's what I was going to ask you.
They're actually going to, they'll just get 3 more seats in 2028.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.